99.8 FM. KCC Live.
Hi, you're listening to Amy Lou on Out There on KCC Live. Today's show, we're going to be looking at coming out. We're going to be looking at coming out in sport, especially football. We've got a few interviews lined up, a few different people's opinions. We're also going to look at coming out around the world, including gay cure therapy, and other people's coming out stories. Keep listening, more after this.
The station with attitude. KCC Live.
Welcome back. You're listening to Amy on the Coming Out show on Out There. I've got Dean in the studio. I'm going to say hi.
Hi.
Dean, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Dean. I'm volunteering at KCC Live and I'm hoping to become a journalist. I've got interest in media and that kind of thing. So
that's great. So Dean's going to be our guest co-host today. And we're talking about coming out and other people's experiences and things like that. We were just talking previously about how it's important for LGBT plus people to have a safe space.
Yeah, I do think it's important that people can feel comfortable in their own skin, and especially in like today's society. Like, I think it's just important for people to live authentically. Like,
do you think there's a lot of support out there for young people? Like, obviously people can't see you're 15.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an awful lot of sort of
I do think that attitudes are changing nowadays, so it's more like accepting for people to be, I don't know, like different sexualities and like the gender identity and stuff like that.
Definitely. Is there much there in your school? Do you find that, you know, if people need it, there's the support there?
Well, in my school, we're doing a thing where they're trying to make the school more equal in terms of like stopping like homophobic bullying and like making people more accepted.
Yeah, that's great though. That's good that it's actually finally being rolled out there. Yeah. I know when I went to school, there was nothing. Like, I mean, we're talking like, I'm 28, so, you know, just a little over 10 years, I shouldn't say that, getting old, a little over 10 years ago, I know when I came out and like, I came out to my friends and another friend came out as bisexual.
Yeah.
And there was no one else in the school at all that identified as LGBT+. It just wasn't there. And when she came out, there was literal riots. Yeah. We had to take her. They had to take her out of the school because there was just all these kids following her around, being like, "Oh, you're bisexual!" Like, "Oh, it's a big thing." And she was just like, "I just like who I like," sort of thing. It wasn't. So I'm glad to hear that there's definitely a difference now, that there is more support there.
I feel like in my generation anyway, like it's always been accepted. Like, I've never been sort of like in school and stuff. I find that if people are, say, bisexual or gay or whatever, people don't really have a problem with it. So.
Yeah, it's definitely more accepted.
Yeah.
I think though as well, we've got really far where the LGB bit is really accepted. And, you know, it's kind of normal now. You know, we're all sort of used to it, especially the younger people. We still have homophobia and stuff going on, but it's nothing like it used to be. But the T and the plus, when you get to the T and the plus, people do not want to know. They don't understand. Like, part of the point of the show is we explain what's going on, because when we go to the local youth groups, like a little bit later on, we've got stories from a few of them about coming out, and they were saying like they just wish people knew the answers to the questions because they're sick of answering them. Like, everyone knows now, you know. People ask silly questions about their LGB bit, but most people know the answers. Yeah, you know. But they don't for the T and the plus. So part of that is to sort of get that explained. I
feel like that's people who are transgender. I feel like there's a lot of ignorance towards them, because unless you've been in their shoes, like, you don't really understand completely what they're going through.
Definitely.
But I think the thing that, you know, they're looking for is acceptance at the end of the day, and I just think that's the key issue, like to just accept everyone for who they are.
It was sort of I've spoken to my friends and stuff about it as well. That I don't know if you've noticed, like, each year normally I go to the Pride March. Yeah. I've been going to that in Liverpool since it started pretty much, and we noticed that whenever there's always a little group of people that go and stand over by the Victoria Monument, and you know, they've got the signs and it's the Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and stuff like that. And I always notice it's the older generation that seems to be the ones that have got the issues. So, I mean, to be honest with you, we said that we were going to pay another one of our friends that really looks like Jesus. He's got lovely long hair and stuff, to go and stand next to them, dressed as Jesus, with a plaque that says, "I'm not with them." Yeah. Sort of, I'm not with them, guys, because the church is getting so much more accepting. over it. And I mean, even a lot of the churches now are safe spaces. I know friends of mine are quite religious and they go to one of their local churches over in Wavertree, and their church basically is like, we are an all accepting church. It doesn't matter who's there. We're all accepting, you're welcome, you know, come in, you know, you're not going to be penalised. And I think that's the way it should be moving forward. But I think homophobia is still alive and well. The other day, I'd met a good friend of mine. We were going card shopping for Valentine's Day. And we were really pleased because the card factory in the village is doing LGBT-friendly cards. Yeah. And they're not like in your face. But, you know, they're like, there's one where it's like, being with you gives me pride. Yeah. And it was in like rainbow colours, and there's a few various ones like that. They were lovely. But my friend got really excited, and she one of her best friends, she always buys a card for. She's actually married, she's got a husband. Yeah. But she buys her a card anyway. Like, I actually buy my best mate a cards as well because he deserves one too, and he's gay. Like, you know, nice, we're never going to have a romantic relationship, but it's just one of them nice things. So she picked it up and she was really excited. She was like, oh my God, look, they're doing LGBT cards. Look, oh, I'm so excited. You know, this friend needs this one and I'll have to get this one for this friend. And she was super excited. And there was this elderly gentleman next to us, and he was browsing the cards. And as she got excited and started like sort of saying about, oh, you know, the gay friendly sort of thing, his face just wrinkled off. He looked absolutely enraged. Looked over to my friend, and I was on the other side of my friend, and I just looked at him like, what are you going to do? Like, But it was like he'd smelled something bad because she was talking about an LGBT card, and I was really shocked. I've never seen that sort of behaviour in Huyton. Like, obviously we've got a bit of a bad track record when it comes to homophobic crimes and stuff, but I'd never actually seen that personally. Like, I'd seen the it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve sort of banners and stuff, but I couldn't believe that that's still happening. Like, and it does definitely seem to be the older generation, or the lad. Yeah. The lad culture where it's like, oh, that's gay, that. Like, you see a lot of that.
I think also the problem is some people are uneducated, or, you know, especially the older generation, they haven't been educated about these things like me and you have, like, definitely. Know, in our lifetime. So.
I can definitely agree with that. And, you know, a lot of it was sort of brushed to one side, and you didn't talk about it, and it was like, oh yeah, our John and his friends. Yeah,
it was never like, they were never seen as like equal to.
Yeah, it was never equal partners. And like, but now we've got like gay marriage and stuff. We'll go on to that later. That's been legal in the UK for 5 years. Yeah, that's amazing. 5 years worth of gay marriage in the UK is just fabulous. Right, so I'm going to go to a song now, and then when we come back, we're going to start looking at coming out in sport and local sports personalities and stuff.
99.8 FM. KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back to Out There, to our coming out show. Looking at people who are LGBT plus in sport and coming out, and one of the first names that came up was Tom Daley. So I'll give you a little bit of info about him. He's a British diver, if you don't know who he is. He's best known for competing in the Olympics. He became a bronze medalist in London in 2012 and in Rio in 2016. He came out as gay in 2013, saying that he'd been in a relationship with another man for a year and couldn't be happier. He's now married to his partner, who's an American film producer and screenwriter. His name's Dustin Lance Black, and he's active on social media. He's got a YouTube channel where he regularly uploads content and has 500,000 subscribers. Wow, that's a lot. Dean, do you know about Tom Daley? Like, I must admit, I didn't even know he was gay. Yeah, like, it just missed me.
Like, I've seen his vlogs on YouTube and stuff, and I think he's a really inspirational person in terms of like LGBT, especially because of his role in sport.
Yeah. So, what sort of content's on his YouTube?
Just vlogs and that kind of thing, and like challenges. That's what I've seen. Like, I don't watch his channel religiously, but
yeah, no, that's pretty cool though that he's using that sort of platform to speak out about it. I think that definitely we need that. We need more openly visible LGBT people in sports, because it just seems like there's the odd person, but everyone else seems to be kind of afraid to come out.
Definitely.
Especially with more sort of testosterone sort of fueled sports, things like football and stuff like that, where it's very male orientated. Yeah. It seems like there's not a whole lot of platform out there. We're having a great time at the minute, where there seems to be a lot of visibility with the Winter Olympics, especially with America. I don't know if you've heard about
Not really, any of it, to be honest.
But we'll have more after this song. We'll speak about that.
99.8 FM. KCC Live.
You're listening to Amy and Dean on Out There. We're on KCC Live. We've got our coming out show that we're talking about. We're up to the Winter Olympics, And there's been a lot in the media at the moment about the USA and about Mike Pence. So I've got a little bit of an article to read out, and then we can have a little talk about it. Basically, there was a male figure skater called Adam Rippon, and he's going to skate for the US in South Korea. And he said that he'd refused to meet with Mike Pence, who's also Vice President of the USA, because he's set to lead the US delegation in the 2018 Winter Olympics. So Rippon was quoted saying, "You mean Mike Pence, the same Mike Pence that funded gay conversion therapy? I'm not buying it. I don't think he has a real concept of reality. To stand by some of the things that Donald Trump has said, and for Mike Pence to say he's a devout Christian man, is completely contradictory. If he's okay with what's being said about people, I think he should go back to church." The Vice President has since made an extraordinary decision to hit back at the Olympian. By his spokesperson, Pence ripped into the figure skater, suggested he'd misled the public. And then there was another Olympian who's openly gay called Gus Kenworthy, and he said that he was on the Ellen show basically, and he said that it seems a strange choice for him because he feels like we're in 2018 and we're going into the Olympics. Him and Adam Rippon are the first two openly gay males competing in the Olympics, and it's just incredible to see how times have changed because of people like you, me and Ellen, and athletes of the past. So many people have paved the way, but then to have someone leading the delegation that's directly attacked the LGBT community and as part of a cabinet that generally stands against us and has tried to do things to set us back, it just seems like a bad fit. And I feel like the Olympics is all about inclusion and people coming together, and it seems like they're not really doing that. Now, I can definitely see how you'd feel that way. Dean, I don't know if you'd said you didn't know that much about it. I don't know what you know about Mike Pence and sort of his stances.
Well, in my opinion anyway, I think that Mike Pence's views are quite homophobic.
Yeah.
You know, I do think he should have a right to his views, but I think there's one thing having opinions and then there's another thing treating people with respect. And I think that he just needs to treat these people who are representing the USA in the Olympics with the respect that they deserve.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, gay conversion therapy, in my own opinion, is wrong, man. It's just wrong. And it amazes me that it's something that's still going on. And we're going to look at that a bit later and cover that. Yeah. But, yeah, I can see how the Olympians would feel uncomfortable having to sort of meet somebody who's so vehemently against them. You know, he's saying, you know, he supports gay cure therapy and stuff like that. And, you know, I can see how they definitely have an issue with that. Right. Next, we're going to look at coming out in football, which is definitely a very male-orientated sort of... obviously, there's female football leagues as well, but...
It's known as a macho sport,
very much so, yeah. So we're going to have a look at that. You were saying previously you were watching CBB's Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah.
And I know there was a bit there with John Barnes. Did you see about that?
Yeah, John Barnes was talking about, you know, how there's this stigma attached to, you know, footballers who may identify as LGBT. And
yeah, I seen him saying about, like, something about out, get them out, something like that. I don't know if that was his opinion or if he was talking about the club. I'm not sure.
I think that there was a few articles saying that, you know, John Barnes was homophobic and that sort of thing, but I think he was just saying the attitudes of some other people. I didn't think that was his actual opinion. So
yeah, I was looking at the stats and stuff, and there seems to be an awful lot of sort of people who are gay in football, but who aren't comfortable with coming out. Yeah. So we're going to have a look at that after this song.
99.8 FM KCC Live.
You're listening to Amy and Dean on Out There on KCC Live. We're talking about the LGBT community and football. At the minute, we're saying that it's quite a masculine sort of sport. People see it as being that macho sort of like laddish thing. A lot of the lad culture is in football, definitely. I'm saying, like, I've not been to that many football matches, but when I have, I've definitely heard slays and stuff, and I don't think they're meant nasty as such. Like, I suppose there is some malice there, but I don't think they mean it like they use faggot as like a naughty word. They don't use it as like just because we're going to talk badly about gay people. I mean, maybe I'm a bit naive, but I do believe that. Like, I believe that there's a lot of things that we say that we don't realise. So, like, even now, on occasion, I will accidentally turn around and go, it's gay, that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I've just said that. But it's because in my head, it's what I'd learned when I was little. When, you know, I was saying something was silly or stupid or rubbish. And then I catch myself and I'm like, oh my gosh.
And a lot of it does stem from, like, early education, doesn't it? Like,
definitely.
How people are brought up.
And I think I learned it in my teens. Like, you know, it was when I learned to swear, basically, that was when I learned that, like, and you learn it off the other people around and they learn it off the other people they're around. And, you know, we end up with that sort of learned behaviour and it's not good and it's a hard cycle to break and I've really tried hard to break it. I really have because I dislike it. I dislike it when other people do it and then I'll be like, oh, I can't believe I've just done that. So, yeah, try my best, but I can definitely see that it'd be difficult for people to come out in football and I can imagine there's a lot of, like, people calling people names and stuff. And,
it's
you know,
that stigma, isn't it? And also the culture of, like, the kind of people who go to football matches. Maybe it like we were saying, it's a macho environment, isn't it?
Definitely a macho sport, yeah. Even the female football teams, like, they're supposed to be really, like, hardy and, you know, really good at their football, really sporty, and a lot of them get given that sort of the lesbian almost persona because they're perceived as being masculine as well. I mean, I actually know someone that was a professional footballer for Everton. And she is not a lesbian. She is not even masculine. She's quite feminine. Yeah. She just liked football.
Exactly.
But it seems like that's a bit of an exception to the rule, what people don't think of.
Yeah, and it's strange as well because even in other sports, like we were talking about Tom Daley earlier, and also like in rugby, I know there's a few rugby players who've come out as gay. So it's strange that there's still that like stigma attached
definitely
to
I mean, in my personal opinion, I think rugby is more masculine than football. Like, you know, they're all rolling around with each other, beating each other up. And you know, football, they kind of you sneeze at them when they fall down. Like, but again, that's my opinion. I'd rather watch rugby. Usually the men have nicer legs, in my opinion. But I found an article and it was a former Premier League footballer. His name's Carl Hoefkens. And he played for Stoke City and West Brom. And he said while he was in Belgium as well, he had gay teammates, and they weren't openly out, like, to the world, but they were to their team, and it never really bothered anyone. But I couldn't believe this. I was really shocked when I read that there's never been an out gay footballer in the Premier League.
Yeah,
like, that just, when you look at the stats of how many people actually identify as non-sort of straight, I can't believe that there's no one that's felt comfortable enough to come out. Like, what's going on there? And then it was saying the last player to come out was Justin Fashanu. And he came out in 1990, but then he died by suicide in 98. And after years of homophobic abuse. So I can't believe that football feels like it's so much more behind than the rest of the world.
Yeah, like even in other industries, like say like the acting industry and things like that, it's always been quite progressive in terms of LGBT issues.
Definitely.
And you know, perhaps like when he came out, and you know, he was as all that homophobic abuse, it puts people off, doesn't it? And
definitely,
it shows that it's the public's perception of it rather than his teammates because they felt comfortable with it.
Yeah, but that's it. It's saying like the team knew that these people were gay. He was saying that when he was playing, he played alongside 3 gay footballers, including one who was a genuinely big name. He wouldn't name names to respect their requests, which I completely agree with. You should never out someone without them wanting to be outed. That's your information and it's no one else's business.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it surprises me that people don't feel comfortable to do that. We've got an interview coming up as well with an ex-professional footballer who we're going to ask about what his personal experiences were. So we've got that coming up after this song. We've got Tyrone on the line who has experience as a professional footballer. Obviously, you yourself don't identify on the LGBT plus spectrum. You're straight.
Yes.
So we're just going to ask you some questions about your experiences. So what we wanted to know is, do you think it's accepted to be openly gay in football?
I think it's, as an industry, I think there's a lot of work that's going into it. I know, obviously, within the football community, there are a lot of people from the LGBT community that are part of the profession. But I think for them, I don't think it's them feeling unsafe coming out amongst their peers, because I think within a dressing room, I think the support is there. Also from different organisations like the Professional Footballers Association were fantastic. I think the support is there. I think the only issue that might worry certain players is the terraces, which is more the fans as opposed to their actual colleagues. And I think people are getting more understanding and more accepting of it, but I think it just takes that one or two players to come out, and it'd be a lot easier for everybody else.
Yeah. Do you think so? It's like it's lag culture and stuff like that, that it's making people be treated a bit differently?
Again, if we go back, I don't know, 20 years ago, when, I think the last big player that did come out was Justin Fasino.
Yeah.
And he got a big backlash.
Yeah.
Again, not from his peers, but more from the terraces. I think, again, it probably wasn't as accepted back then. But I think culture's changing and people's views are changing, and it is becoming a lot more accepted. And I think now, I think they'd get that support if they were to come out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think there's more in place now for people to come out as gay in football?
There's a lot more support. I mean, even now, a player called Robbie Rogers, he's a player at LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
And he come out, and he got a lot of support worldwide for coming out. Again, I think we need more people like him to come out, because they would be surprised at the support that they would actually get within the industry. So again, I think small steps are being taken, but like I said, I think it's one of those, if a big group decided to do it together, then the support and from around the world would be amazing, I'm sure.
Yeah, so the more visible it is, you think the more people will be more comfortable coming out?
I think, yeah, definitely. I think it is. Obviously, people are scared of the unknown, and sometimes, as players as well, a lot of players try to be private, whether their private lives or their family life as well. So something like this, it would bring a massive spotlight onto them. But again, if there wasn't the only person doing it, then I don't think it would be an issue at all.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that might help. Do you think that we could kind of make more of like a movement, if you like, an LGBT plus movement in sport? Do you think that would make a difference?
Yeah, again, I think, listen, we have one of the most fantastic member clubs, as I said before, the PFA, who are fantastic in supporting not just people in the LGBT community, but with whatever, if there's mental issues, if it's anything to do with supporting financially, anything like that, they're brilliant. And they've already kind of opened people's eyes more to kind of help people come out and show that the support is there and they're not on their own. I think if there was a movement, again, a more visible movement, as you spoke about, within the LGBT community, I think, again, it would open more awareness. But I think that awareness is already there. I just think, again, we just need probably a group of players to say, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to come out, because this is me. Yeah. This is me. And I think the support, again, like I said, it'd be absolutely unbelievable for them.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Tyrone. Had some really good news there.
Yeah, no problem.
The Station with Attitude, KCC Live.
I'm Paul Aman. I'm the founder of Cop Outs, which is the LGBT plus supporters group for Liverpool Football Club. We work closely with the club over a number of years, and the club's quite supportive of our work. And indeed, we've managed to get the club to come and march at Liverpool Pride and to otherwise show its solidarity with LGBT people and, of course, LGBT fans of Liverpool itself.
That's brilliant. How did the group come about in the first place? Was it after a particular incident, or was it just a recognised need?
I think it was a developing need. I got involved personally with football back in 2007 as somebody in their 30s who actually had never wanted to play football at school because of issues around homophobia and bullying and so on. And the chance to play football amongst an LGBT inclusive environment through a club called Mersey Marauders, which exists in the city, was amazing, because suddenly it became apparent that that teen buzz that people spoke about with football could be possible for me. And I got really involved with that football club, and as a fan of Liverpool, I then was able to take that experience to help advise LFC itself as to how it could become more inclusive through its supporters committee, and I got selected to be on the first supporters committee back in 2011. I've worked with the club over the last 7 years on that supporters committee, and now through the fan forum to help improve what it does to make sure that the club is accessible for all of its fans, and in particularly for its LGBT plus fans. How cop-outs came about, I went along with other LGBT supporters. We met up nationally from other clubs a few years ago now, about 5 or 6 years ago, and we were able to have a chat as to how can we take forward the individual issues that we had as LGBT plus fans. And one of the answers came out, well, why don't we have fan groups? Why don't we have groups that are recognised by our local clubs who have got a collective identity? And, you know, that idea led eventually to a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2016, to the launch of Cop-Outs as a formally recognised supporters group for LGBT plus fans of Liverpool. That's brilliant.
I didn't actually realise when we were talking about the fans that a sport career might not seem achievable or obtainable if you identify as gay. It didn't even cross my mind that those two things actually relate.
Yeah. Well, so far in the world of football, there have been just a total of 11 professional football players ever come out as gay, and most of whom came out after their careers have ended.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, that. And as time goes on, you'd like to think or hope that it becomes more acceptable. But, I mean, from your experience and observations...
massively, yeah. I think things have changed, actually, and they have moved forward. You know, I've been able to sit down and work with mainstream fan groups, Spirit of Shankly, who, you know, the supporters trust for LFC. I've sat and chatted with people from Spy and Cop who do the amazing flags and banners and stuff like that in the Cop. And they get that, you know, myself and other LGBT plus people who are fans of Liverpool, we're fans of Liverpool first and foremost, and they don't want to see us excluded from the game and excluded from being able to support the club that we all love. There is an attitude out there which wants to make sure that every Liverpool football fan who's a genuine fan can come to the game in safety, and that was fantastic to see firsthand from Spirit of Shankly and others, because, you know, I've got friends who are still scared of coming to the match at Anfield because they worry about what the response might be from fellow fans. But I know for my own experience is that the vast majority of fans are really, really decent, and actually it's a little bit like how racism was, in as much as if somebody decided to chant something homophobically now, pretty soon not only would stewards act, but fellow fans wouldn't put up with it.
Yeah. In terms of the industry, there seems to be a little bit of stigma. So obviously it's affected the fans as much as it has probably affected the players. You've just quoted the stats as being really low in terms of people who are able to come out openly as gay. Do you think that do you think that the fans may be hindering the industry, as in the footballers being able to come out as openly gay? We have spoken previously to a player, and he suggested that there is a lot of support for players, teammates, managers, or football associations, and they are supportive of the players. But the players, some of them, in his experience, fear the fans.
I think some people will be very frightened of fan reaction, and that can be a really terrifying thought, to have a stadium full of people potentially being, or a large chunk of that stadium being abusive to you. I think that would scare anybody in a way. But equally, I remember, I'm mixed race, and I remember the late 70s, early 80s when black players were facing levels of abuse that were unacceptable then. And actually what won people over, as well as decent ordinary fans stepping forward and saying, "Oi, enough of that," it was also the quality of people's play on the pitch. And that just changed people's, perceptions. It changed people's attitudes. And it won't be an instant change, but it will be something which will, and has actually become easier to discuss the issues. We now have every single Premiership team in the country wearing rainbow laces every November for rainbow laces matches to show their solidarity with LGBT people. That does make a difference. LFC were the first club in the world to march at a Pride event. That showed LFC's colours really proudly. Last year, ahead of Liverpool Pride, the new chief executive of LFC, Peter Moore, he made a brilliant speech that he put out on social media from the LFC dressing room, and for him to say that, that he wants to show solidarity and the club's solidarity with LGBT plus people of this city, I think that was a really valuable thing. So I think, yes, it will be great to have the day when it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight and you want to watch the match or you want to play in football and there won't be a reaction. We are some way away from that, but actually it's become easier and easier to be an out gay person, an out LGBT plus person, and watch the match and support the club that you love.
Yeah, that is nice. It is some positive from a pretty awful situation. In terms of you saying that we're away from that, moving forward, how can you see us getting to the point where it doesn't matter?
I think there's a couple of things that happen on this. One is the natural aging process. Some of the homophobes and bigots are from an older generation, and they are going through one way or another. I think young people coming forward are a lot more educated. I do some work in schools, and young people never fail to inspire me with how decent they are, and the values that they hold on to are about respect and about dignity. And as that carries forward into the wider world, as young people, move into jobs and get the money to go to the match, etc., that changes things, and that's a really good thing.
That's lovely. Do you mind if we ask about your coming out story? You did say that there were some homophobic issues when you were younger in terms of considering football as a career or even getting involved in football.
Yep.
For you, how was your coming out experience? Was it welcomed? Is it something that you were able to do quite openly with friends and family?
I'm 49 years of age, so I first
you don't
knew
sound
that
it.
I was gay. Thank you. I first knew that I was gay, when I was sort of 11 or 12, and I really didn't want to offer the fact out that I was gay because the world was in a very much of a different place. I grew up in a small white town in Grimsby, where being mixed race was a problem enough for some people to deal with, and I got a lot of racism. So to come out as a gay man was something which I wasn't prepared to do at that stage. So I kept myself to myself and, didn't disclose my sexuality at all until actually I first came out publicly to people when I came here to university. I came to Liverpool at about the age of 21, and I, from that point forward, didn't tell another lie about, people I was interested in, who I was dating, and my life became immeasurably better as a consequence. I don't think I've had a bad reaction to my coming out that I can really remember. People in my life have respected my openness. They've respected the family that I've got. I got married last year to my husband, and he and I were, our marriage ceremony was witnessed by both of our families, which was fantastic, and celebrated by lots of friends and family and colleagues. And, the world has moved on a great deal, and I'm now, through the wonders of social media, etc., I'm now friends with people through social media that I last saw when I was at school, and they now have nothing but respect for a lot of the work that I've done, say, with Liverpool Football Club, and the fact that I've achieved a great deal in my life and have got a loving husband. They're great about that, and people have moved forward, thank goodness.
Yeah, congratulations. It's a really nice, happy ending.
Thank you very much.
As we are a youth station, and we've got a lot of young listeners on the show, what advice do you give them if they are listening right now and they can identify with a little bit of what you're saying? They may be in a situation where they don't feel too comfortable about coming out, or it's something that they're unsure of. Maybe even their feelings themselves, they're not too sure what they are thinking. What would you suggest?
Yeah, there's a range of services available across the city region. Things like Gyro, which is Gay Youth Are Out, and Gyro exists to help young people, and they've got youth groups of different ages. So they're available, and they've got telephone helplines available to have a chat with somebody. Because I remember as a young person coming out, I did actually pick up the phone to what was then the London Lesbian and Gay Switchboard, because it was the only one that I could get hold of the details of, and just be able to say to somebody, I think I might be gay, and I'm not sure, what to do. And the help I got from that switchboard at the time was so reassuring, because it told me that I wasn't alone, that there were other LGBT people out there, that you could, have all these worries, but actually it does get better.
Yeah.
And that message of it does get better is a really, really important one. If you're facing bullying today, tell somebody about it and look for a bit of help. Go to a teacher maybe, if there's a teacher you can feel you can talk to, because teachers are actually obliged to help you. They're paid to help you, and youth workers are paid to help you. There are people out there whose job it is to look out after you and to stop bullying and to stop any problems of harassment you might be facing. And the world does get a lot, lot better.
That's lovely. Yeah, you might get married and be really, really happy.
It can happen, I tell you.
And with regards to cop-outs, if there's people listening who are concerned about attending a match and worried about fellow fans and maybe the experience not being a positive one for LGBT members, how can they find out more about the group and maybe join or reach out to you?
Sure, yeah. As an LGBT plus football group, we've got social media on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Cop Outs. You'll find it on Google in 2 minutes. Send us a message. We're happy to, see if we can meet up and watch the match, either at Anfield or in local venues, and provide people the opportunity to enjoy the match in safety and with the backing of fellow fans.
Lovely. Thanks for your time.
The Station with Attitude, KCC Live.
Welcome back to Out There on KCC Live with Amy and Dean. We're talking about coming out around the world now. We had a little look around and there was a few different stories about how different countries treat their LGBT community. There's been a lot of trouble at the moment over in Africa. And I've got a little bit to read to you and then we're going to talk about it, saying a surge in LGBT-targeted violence, including corrective rapes and the murder of a lesbian couple who were raped, tortured, murdered and then set alight, has caused uproar across the nation, which rightly so, in my opinion. And they were saying while one couple was abused and told to stay naked by police in a horrific video, A South African church has also been accused of beating gay men half to death and forcing them to pay for damages after they realised their sexuality. There's been an awful lot of hate crimes going on, basically, especially in Johannesburg. There was a protest going on in there where they were talking about they had issues with LGBT-friendly film being screened. It's not easy at all to be LGBT plus in Africa, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Looking at the media and stuff, there was a video done a few years by an investigatory journalist where he'd gone into South Africa and was finding out, and people just didn't have any tolerance at all for LGBT people. They felt that they were sick, that they needed correcting and things like that. We had a look as well at gay cure therapy, but we're going to talk about that a bit later on. It's quite a serious subject. Obviously, you know, no one deserves to be treated that way just based on their sexuality. You know, a lot of people in Africa still believe that being LGBT plus is a choice. And I can't say get on with that at all. And I don't think it's at all acceptable, especially not to be causing people physical harm and damage. Like, you can't even imagine it. Like, you're just trying to live your life and people want to beat you just for being who you are is unreal. There's also been issues going on in the UN have condoned Indonesia. He's basically, the commissioner said that they need to stop cracking down on the LGBTQ community and protect the minorities. So there's been a lot going on as well in Indonesia where people are getting beaten up and stuff for being LGBT plus. And, you know, there's a lot of countries all around the world. There was lots of issues as well in India, but I found a really nice article where it was talking about India's first gay pride, which they held last year. And it was saying members from both the LGBT and straight communities took to the streets in solidarity. I love that word, solidarity. I'm like, yes. Nearly 18 years after the Calcutta held the first Pride event in the country. So, you know, they've brought it back, basically. People came from as far as Mumbai, Calcutta, Changra and Jaipur to walk 1.5 km parade route hand in hand with flags and stuff. I love that there was a few of them that were saying the placards were saying, I'm gay and it's okay. I'm a queer Muslim babes, get over it. I love that. I was saying,
that one.
It reminds me of Bianca Del Rio with the Not Today, Satan. There was a drag queen over in America I was telling you about before, and it was during Pride in America, and basically there was an awful lot of anti-LGBT protests going on there, and she gives this fantastic speech, this drag queen, about how, you know, you're going to say that your religion condones gay people, but you're not following your religion to the letter. You know, it's like you wear mixed cottons, you know, you sleep in the same bed as your wife, etc.
And also treating everyone with kindness as well, which they clearly don't.
So she was just like, not today, Satan, you know, unless you're going to follow the letter of your law, you can't use it to say that I'm wrong while you're busy sort of making your own assumptions from it. But at the same time, she turns around and she's like, we'll welcome you with open arms. And I like that. I like that a lot of the Pride events seem to be
inclusive,
that's it. There's a few countries that are quite inclusive. Spain's listed. I was saying my ex-partner was from Spain and we never had an issue at all in Spain with hate crime or anything like that. Canada, again, one of my best friends is from Canada and she's never had an issue. The Netherlands, saying I've been over to Amsterdam and how open everything is there. There's no issues there. In Germany, are very pro-LGBT. I'm saying as well, Australia recently got the vote to allow gay marriages. You were saying that you didn't think Germany were that straightforward?
Well, I think it was pretty recently that they did have the vote. I think they did vote to legalise gay marriage, but it's not like a new thing. But I think in terms of like countries like you know, Britain and the way we are in our country, I think Germany are kind of forward thinking because people aren't exactly oppressed for being gay.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think also there's different parts of a country. Like we're kind of sticking all countries in together. Like, you can't really lump America all in together. It's massive, and there's different states and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, in some states in America, it's quite accepted. They're quite liberal, especially places like California and stuff like that.
Yeah, really liberal.
But then you go to places that are really, really sort of right-wing, places like Texas and stuff, where you're not being openly gay and coming out. Also, it reminds me of Marsha P. Johnson's, one of hers, where she was saying, like, we want our gay rights now.
Yeah.
But the fight's still going on around the world. It seems that not everywhere is as forward-thinking and as open as the rest. Going back to Africa, we were talking about the gay cure therapy as well. So we're going to have a look at that after this song.
99.8 FM. KCC Live.
You're listening to Amy and Dean on Out There. We're talking about gay conversion therapy. We were just saying, we got a basic outline. At the moment, the UK government has stated that conversion therapy can be incredibly damaging to young people in particular, and it doesn't work. But quite frankly, I'm a bit like, well, duh. But yeah, they've said that they fully recognise the effects that it can have on people who identify as part of the LGBT plus community, and condemns any attempt to treat being gay, lesbian or bisexual. Conversion therapy has since been linked to depression and other mental health issues, especially in gay teenagers who may be questioning their sexuality. They also said that these people deserve to live an authentic and confident life without being made to feel shamed due to outdated views on sexuality. I'm kind of like, here, yes, that I agree with. There was a thing recently on the Liverpool Echo, I seen it being reported, and they were saying there was a church in Brack Road that were offering gay conversion therapy, and there was a lot of hoo-ha about that, rightly so. We were saying it can take a lot of forms, though, gay conversion therapy. It can be, literally like you were saying, pray the gay away. Yeah. It can be that. It can be things like physical stuff, like they put people on starvation, they beat them. There can be a lot of different things.
It's terrible,
there.
Isn't it?
I can't even comprehend it, I'll be honest, but I'm also aware that I come from that very liberal sort of background, and I'm very pro-LGBT. I don't see being gay or lesbian or bi as an issue. It's just part of who you are. But obviously some people do see it that way. It can also be more mental stuff as well. So it can be like CBT based, where they'll try and change the behaviour. It can be we will teach you how to be straight and macho.
I think it's just horrible how people are told not to be themselves and not to, like they were saying, and that live authentically. It's abhorrent to me, really. Like,
yeah,
the fact that...
definitely. Like, we should be able to be who we are, and it shouldn't be a therapy. Like,
yeah, it's not something that needs to be fixed. I think it's
there you go. It's not an illness. It's not, you're not broken. You don't need to change your behaviour. It's just who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I definitely agree there. I mean, obviously, there's some people that could have conflicting issues, especially if you're very religious and you're having feelings like that, and you don't want to have them. I can see how you'd turn to gay cure therapy, but I think it's when people are pushed into it, and they may be teenagers and they may not be sure who they are, where they are. I mean, honestly, I think most people, when they're going through the teens, question their sexuality. I think they do. I think, everyone has that where they find out who they fancy, who they don't fancy, and they go, what if I am gay? What if I'm not? What if I'm bi? And I think more and more we're talking about it and we're open about it. I was saying, like, when I came out, when I was a teen, I started questioning who I fancied, who I didn't fancy. Am I a lesbian? Am I not? What am I? I remember being at a party, and I was only young. I was probably about 13, 14, something like that. And my mum was talking to somebody else, and I was eavesdropping, and she just said as an offhand comment, she was like, do you know what, if I found out my kids were gay, I'd wonder what I'd done wrong. And she didn't mean it nasty. She didn't mean it that, she didn't like gay people or anything like that. It was just that she thought that maybe something had caused that, basically. And I was heartbroken, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't come out as gay to her if she's going to think she's done something wrong.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And then I kind of took the stance of my sexuality as my own business. Like, I don't really need to tell anyone else unless it's someone that I'm attracted to and I'm like, hey, I do fancy you. So I was open to me friends and that, and out to me friends, but never to me family, really. But it just never came up. And then I got with my ex-partner who was female. So then obviously I did tell people then, I felt like I had to explain when it turned up with this female partner and being like, hi, yeah, you know, we're engaged, that sort of thing. So obviously then I came out and my mum was fine. My mum was just like, okay, love, if you're happy. And I was really, really nervous about telling my granddad because I was like, oh.
The older generation, isn't it?
Yeah, older generation. And literally, do you know what? I cannot fault my granddad one bit because all he turned around and he went, are you happy? And I went, yeah. And he went, okay.
And
that was that. He was like, do you want a drink? We were at a party. He was like, all right, do you want a drink? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll have a large one. Basically, like,
yeah.
He never had an issue. And I found that most of my family were just like that. They were just like, as long as you're happy, then I've no issue. But I do wonder if they'd be in the same if it was a male in the family. People seem to accept female partners a lot more than they do male.
Yeah.
I was saying someone else I know when they came out, it being a long time coming sort of thing, they came out and their dad was like, I think that's disgusting, you know, and it took for their mum to be like, no, that's my son, for him to apologise and accept him. But I'm quite glad that I didn't have to have that experience.
Yeah.
I think people should feel comfortable. I don't even think we should come out. Yeah. Like, I just think it should be one of the things.
It's like, why can't people like say, well, I don't know, like just introduce the partner and say, well, this is whoever, and
and then my boyfriends or girlfriends, and that's that. Like, I did say, like, I've got 2 children, as most of the listeners will know as well. Like, I've got a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm saying I really hope that when they get to that age where, you know, they've got the first partners, whether they be male or female, because I honestly don't really care as long as they're happy, that they don't have to come out to me. They just go to me, Mum, this is such a person, it's my boyfriend, you know, or it's my girlfriend, and I can pretend to do that parenting bit where I'm like, you're going to look after them, you better treat them right, but I don't really care what the gender is, to be honest with you. Like, I've no interest as long as they're happy.
Yeah.
Then, and they're being safe and things like that. That's more my interest, is that if you're being safe and you're happy, then you go, you know.
Yeah.
Great. I think a lot of people's arguments for things like, oh, gay people won't have children and stuff like that, it's outdated.
Yeah, definitely.
Because lots of gay people now have children, you know, and it's a normal thing.
I think that's the thing, people can, that where attitudes are changing, people can accept people being gay. But it's like we're moving to a point now where gay people are adopting and, you know, gay people are getting married and that kind of thing. So it's just getting on to where gay people are equal to straight people, and that's how it should be.
And there's things like surrogacy now as well and stuff like that. Like, and, you know, I've got friends who are a lesbian couple that have 2 children that use a sperm donor.
Yeah.
So their children are biologically theirs, you know, they just choose the sperm donor. And actually the sperm donor is also in the child's life. The kids are brought up knowing that, you know, this is your dad, and, you know, he takes a role, but he's not like an active parenting role. He's more sort of, he's there if they need him, he's around, you know, he's like almost like an uncle role rather than a parent. And they parent the child, and he's okay with that. And his sort of stance was, well, let's hope that when I meet a partner and I'd like a child, that, you know, we could find a surrogate. You know, it's nothing to me that I helped my friends, sort of thing. It can be difficult, I know, as well, for people to get sperm donations as like a lesbian couple, and surrogacy as well. It's a really sticky situation, and I've made it sound quite simple there. It's not that simple.
Because I've heard people's stories like in the media and stuff about, you know, I read a story about you know, a gay couple, 2 gay men who they had a surrogate for twins, and they were like, well, only the dad can come in, you know, when they were actually having the baby, and it's like, no, but we're both the dads, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like getting over that sort of period where it's where people don't really know.
Yeah, definitely. I think the media as well likes to talk about the extreme sort of
it does.
examples. I know that when I had my daughter, I'd not long got with my female partner, and I was given the contraception talk 3 times about, you know, not to fall pregnant again. And I was like, no, honestly, I won't fall pregnant again. And they were like, oh, okay. I was like, this is me partner. And they were like, oh, right. And then the first thing that they wanted to do was go, so how?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you shouldn't really be asking me that for a start as a nurse.
It's my business.
Like, that's up to me. As it was, I'm pretty open. I didn't really mind explaining it, but I thought some people would. And the fact that was your first thing was to be like, well, how? It's not really great.
Yeah.
But that's something else, the NHS needs more guidelines for as well, especially with it being more accepted.
Definitely.
I mean, I know I had friends that come out. One of them came out, and his dad was just like, "All right, well, as long as you're happy." His dad was saying, like, we were at a funeral recently, and his dad was saying, I always worried when he came out that he'd not have people that support him as much and stuff like that. And I'm not sure where that logic came from, but by the by. And then he just turned around and he went, what, seeing all his friends here that support him, it's more than enough, never mind a partner. I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. People should be able to be happy, and that's another reason why I disagree with gay cure therapy. It's almost like telling these people who are questioning their sexuality and are quite vulnerable, it's telling them that who they are is wrong. And
definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I had a friend that came out, and they came out as trans to their family, and their family were like, okay, well, we accept you, but we won't support you.
Yeah.
We were like, we're not going to stand in your way, we're not going to not talk to you, but we don't think it's the best thing for you. I'd rather have family, I think, that said that, but at the same time, it was really difficult for her then to sort of continue with her transition, because
she knew that they didn't fully, support her.
Basically. And then I had another friend that sort of came out with a poem.
Yeah.
And they came out as trans, and it was basically saying, this is what it feels like to be me. And then they understood, although their family are very sort of open anyway, so they had a good story. We've also got some other coming out stories from our youth group, so if you want to take a little listen to them, here they are.
Well, basically I told my nan I was bi, and she basically just said I was going through a phase and she wasn't accepting, didn't want me to tell anyone else, I'd already told my friends, because I was scared of telling her. But then I'd already been, I know it's not about this, but I'd already been through stuff before that, and it was just too much for me, and then I was really depressed and everything.
Do you feel you've come through that now and you're in a better place, or are you still there?
Still there.
Basically, I came out as bisexual to my mum and my grandparent. They were supportive of that, but at first my mum was saying that I was just confused and stuff. I also came out as trans to her, but I still have. They still call me by she and her pronouns. It's kind of annoying because you just want to correct them, but then you don't want to come out to more people in case they don't take it that well.
Do you think they do it out of force of habit, or do you think it's just because they don't acknowledge?
A force of habit, probably.
Yeah.
I want to try and talk to her about trying and start properly transitioning. I started by cutting my hair, but I'd like to start properly going through testosterone and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So basically, I told a couple of my mates, and they said, one of my mates gave me the idea to do it, but the funny thing is, I told two of my mates, and actually in primary they made a bet about it, about if I'll come out as gay, but then I ended up coming out as bi in the assembly, because I didn't really want people to know I was gay, just in case it got worse, and it ended up getting worse anyway. And I end up becoming depressed and suicidal, and and then I end up self-harming a lot. But the bad thing is, one of my mates, he was the same, and he committed suicide because of it. And then,
do you feel like you've got the support though there now?
Oh yeah, but I have been wanting to commit suicide a lot, recently.
Give me your coming out story.
I came out as bi to my parents because they didn't really know what pan was, so it'd just be easier to explain it in the terms of, hey, I can like both males and females, because they're not very accepting with the non-binary thing, I found out, because I'm non-binary myself, and I told them, and they weren't very okay with it. My mum said that it didn't exist, and refuses to use my preferred pronouns and name. We argued for about 2 days over it. It wasn't fun. It's not a fun experience. It's when people don't accept who you are, it makes you feel like crap, basically.
Well, tell me about, you were saying you were bi-curious. When was it?
It was last year.
And what did you do?
Nothing, I just went through a bit of a phase. and I didn't really know what was happening. And I don't know, I just sort of wanted to experiment. So, yeah, I just ended up just doing some things which I do regret, but I'm glad that my family understood in that.
Why did you regret them?
Because now I know that I wasn't into it.
Are you glad at least though that you found out, like, you got the experimenting out the way?
Yeah, definitely. It's just now that I know today, I wish that I didn't say anything or do anything.
I came out as bisexual when I was 12, and obviously my family were fine with it. Well, family, I mean my granddad, because he's obviously got 2 lesbian daughters. But when I came out as trans, the family didn't take it well. That one of my lesbian aunties was just saying that I was an attention-seeking lesbian, because I think it's because she's older and she's used to, you know, old stuff and old rules. And she was saying when she was trying to, like, explain why she thought that she used to think she was a boy, but she came out as a lesbian. So basically she thought I was the same way, but I was trying to say that I wasn't.
Hi, I'm Laura, and today we're here with Emily McChrystal to do an interview on her coming out story. So, what do you identify with when it comes to labels in the LGBT community?
Hi Laura, thanks for having me. I label myself as a lesbian.
Was there any confusion surrounding your sexuality when you first started to realise who you were?
Definitely. I think any form of self-discovery is confusing, whether it be gender expression, style, music, anything. So for me, the journey to my current label as a lesbian was definitely a confusing one. I wish I could say that there was a day where I woke up and I knew, but that just wasn't the case. I originally identified as pansexual at the age of 14 before I realised at 16 that I was in fact a lesbian.
What's your coming out story? Was it a positive experience, negative? Did you have an overall good support system? Or was there anyone maybe that you perhaps felt uncomfortable coming out to?
My coming out story is that I came out to my mum and dad when we were in a log cabin in Wales. I thought this was perfect timing as we were away from everyone else and I could just get like an authentic response from them rather than them be distracted from things back home. I was 14 and I told my mum in floods of tears because I was expecting a really bad response. But I'm lucky enough to have such a liberal, open-minded mum and dad, and they were absolutely fine with it. Even when I told them a few years later that I was in fact lesbian rather than pansexual, which is what I originally came out as, they just wanted me to be happy. But apart from my parents and siblings, no one else in my family knows, as it's such like a generational divide. I'm anxious that the likes of me nan and granddad won't be so accepting.
Have you had any bad experiences with your sexual identity? Have you had any cases of bullying? Were the side effects of that were negative? Have you had any negative side effects?
I've definitely had bad experiences. When it comes to coming out, it hasn't always been as positive as what it was with me mum and dad. I've had people completely dismiss my sexuality and invalidate it. I've had people call me derogatory terms. I've lost friends because of how I identify. But I think for the majority of cases with homophobia, it comes from a place of ignorance rather than a place of hate. And I think that's how I deal with homophobia as a whole, is I just kind of accept that they're uneducated on it and they don't really know enough to have a solid opinion.
How do you keep positive when things like that happen? Have you got any like creative outlets or ways in which you remain positive even though you might have had like a bad day or a bad experience?
Creative outlets that I have are definitely my Instagram. I try and spread as much information as I can. I'm in the midst of making a YouTube video. I have blog.
Have you got any icons out there in the public eye, or any TV shows, songs or films that you think are really good advocates for being a part of the LGBT community?
I have plenty of LGBT icons, but I think Ellen DeGeneres definitely tops them all because she has such a big public platform and she uses it to such an advantage, and she just spreads so much education in terms of the queer community. No matter what people identify as, she'll stand in your corner, and because she's got this big, as I said, platform, she just works it really well. And I think representation's key in terms of knowing who you are, because it normalises sexual orientations that aren't necessarily straight.
What would you say to people out there today who still haven't come out or might be listening and might identify with you and still don't know how to or are too afraid to come out?
My advice for people to coming out or who are questioning is definitely the first person and only person that you 100% need to come out to is yourself. You don't owe anyone anything, and you don't have to explain who you are or who you love. Only come out when you know that no matter what the response people may be, whether positive or negative, you can still stand there knowing that their opinion won't hinder your life. People's opinions are only as strong as you're going to let them be. That being said, only come out if it's safe to do so. If you fear you might be kicked out or hurt, then get a plan in place so that if worst does come to worst, you'll have your physical health and safety.
Is there anything in the LGBT community that you think should be explored more? Is there any areas which you think, even in this modern society that we have today, still haven't been touched upon?
In terms of the LGBT community and things that need to be worked on, biphobia is definitely a main one, because even within the queer community there's a lot of biphobia, and I think it's definitely internalised. Bi people are kind of deemed as one day straight, one day gay, and that's not the case at all. Bisexuality is a sexuality within itself. It's not gay, it's not straight, it is bisexual. And there's such a stigma around bi people and the loyalties that they have to a relationship, whether they're going to cheat because there's more opportunities, shall we say, but it's just not the case at all. It just comes down to the person and the couple, and I think that really needs to be addressed. Outside the LGBT community, things that need to be worked on are definitely the sexual education in schools. There's literally no education for gay people when it comes to practicing safe sex and when it comes to consensual sex, and that is key, because no matter what your sexuality, you're going to come into contact with it at some point, and it needs to be practiced safely. And STDs and the spread of disease, and just it needs to be addressed 100%.
So thanks, Em, for being here today. Want to tell people where they can find you for more?
Yeah, my Instagram's em.ily.mccrystal, MCCHRYSTAL.
Emily will also soon be doing an LGBT-based YouTube channel called The Gay Agenda. So when's the next video going to be up?
Yep, the first YouTube video is going to be up by the 1st of March.
So go check that out, send it up. It's Emily and her friend Joe. They're doing a mini-series of coming out stories. So if you've liked this segment, you'll really like that.
Thanks for having me.
Some really interesting stories there, and some pretty heavy ones as well. Of course, anybody who is coming out or is struggling with their sexuality, there's some fantastic charities out there. Stonewall is one who are really good working with the community. There's also the Pride charities. For young people as well, in Liverpool, we've got the Young Person Advisory Association, and they have a youth group called Gyro, which is LGBT plus focused. We also have youth groups over in Knowsley as well. Usually with a quick Google, you can find your local youth groups and support. And obviously there's people like the Samaritans and stuff like that who, whilst they're not only focused on LGBT, will also help with any problems and any really heavy feelings. There's also the charity Papyrus that deal with suicide and suicidal feelings. You can get in touch with them as well. Moving on a slightly lighter note, I was looking on the internet, and it is 5 years since gay marriage has been made legal.
Yay.
I'm so pleased. I am saying, like, I can't even imagine not having the same sort of rights, and I was a big advocate for it when it was all going through, and I was like, well, at the end of the day, I see it from a legal point of view as well as spiritual.
Yeah.
Like, also civil partnerships as well are slightly different, so I like that you can have a marriage and a civil partnership. And I do believe straight people should also be given a civil partnership.
I believe that too.
Because not everyone is religious. I'm not particularly religious. Like, if I decide to eventually keep and marry my other half, you know, we may consider not a full marriage. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
As I said, it depends if I decide to keep him. And on another lovely note, in the Winter Olympics, Eric Radford has become the first openly gay athlete to win a gold medal, which is cracking. He's from Canada, and he's a figure skater, I should add. And he skated with his partner, Megan Dumel, and they skated to Adele's Hometown Glory. So that's another nice bit of news.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. And Dean, thank you for coming in and chatting and spilling the tea.
Yeah, spill the tea.
And this has been Out There, the Coming Out show on KCC Live. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.